Well, my name is Ari. My full name is Ariadni. I am based here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I run a Wellness First, a corporate events agency. So we do events all over the world, and we also operate as a destination management company here in Hawaii too, at all of the islands.
Well, I want to welcome our special guest, Ari of Olympian Meeting and other ventures. She is my colleague from Harvard Medical School, Lifestyle Wellness and Executive Education. I'm so excited that you held space for Self Care Your Way to Success podcast, and I can't wait for the audience to learn more about you. So, welcome, Ari.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Please tell us more about you.
Okay, well, my name is Ari. My full name is Ariadni. I am based here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I run a Wellness First, a corporate events agency. So we do events all over the world, and we also operate as a destination management company here in Hawaii too, at all of the islands.
How did you discover that you had an interest in wellness tourism?
Through my own personal journey. I actually never thought I would be in this type of field or this area. It just kind of expanded. I started my career in radio in the early 2000s. And so I worked in radio, sports, and spirits a little bit. And then I thought I needed a real job. And I worked in supply chain, which not knowing at that time that it was giving me all of the administrative like tools and the skill sets and working with customers and high escalation, problems and learning to deal with them. And then I wanted to get back. I was missing the kind of the events and the marketing side of things. And there was no room to grow at the company that I was, working in supply chain in. And so I left my job and I started volunteering. And I have to say that's the best advice I could give anybody is to volunteer your time. And I was working I'd moved to San Francisco, California by this point. Was working for a meetup group that would connect startups with investors. And I was also working on a congressional campaign at the time. And through the networking and the events I was doing, I landed a job at a software company because the candidate of the campaign or the congressional candidate, she knew the CEO at the software company, nothing to do with the business, just using their office space. I was running the event and met the CEO. They were a startup. He said, we're hiring. And I'm like, great. Next thing you know, I had an email come in Monday morning at 8 a.m. for an interview. And I'm like, my God, Monday morning at 8 a.m. Like I could not turn it down, but it was so early. I was going to say I'm busy at 8 a.m. on Monday when I wasn't working right at the time.
Yeah.
And that basically got myself back into the world of corporate events. And I always wanted a life of work and travel. So through that, since about 2011, I've been building this life of work, travel, and then through my own personal kind of journey, tapping into my spirituality is what led me to bring in wellness into the corporate event space. It's been really interesting to be a part of it and to incorporate like yourself into your work too. I always say that my personal life and my professional life are very married. There's no separation in a way. It's very fluid and in the flow.
Absolutely. That's that sweet spot where we find fulfillment and we trust the process. I think it takes a lot of confidence and just trust in the process to just let things flow so naturally the way that you did. What has been one of the most profound moments through all of those different pivots that you've experienced?
That's a hard question. I think a lot of amazing stuff has happened. And I think moving to Hawaii, to be honest with you, I was guided to move here. I had lost my partner in 2019. And through kind of a series of events, I was on a personal journey finding a new home. I wanted to leave California. I was living back and forth between Mexico City and in San Francisco. After he passed away, I was kind of like, okay, where do I go? I was very nomadic at the time. I had left my job at the software company and I was independent. I've been independent since 2017 when I joined my business partner, David. And at that time, he had started an events company and then he was going on a trip around the world with his now wife. And he was like, Ari, it's perfect. I have these events. Can you take them over? And I was like, okay, fine, I'll run the events. And then I basically never left. And so this was going on with work. I started running the agency. I was going through my own personal healing, and I had a ticket to Hawaii to meet a girlfriend that was pregnant, and she was on her way back from Australia to New York to have a baby. And I knew within the first week I had a spiritual awakening while I was here, and I was in this waterfall hike, and I'm literally in the waterfall in this pond, and I could hear the sound of the ukulele playing. And a friend that I was with, I had asked him, I'm like, do you hear that? And he's like, what, hear what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we were literally in the middle of, nowhere. That was kind of the moment I felt like I'd found my home. I had an overwhelmingly sense of peace. And that kind of changed the trajectory of my path, where I was going to stay, and then also tapping into our business as well. So being able to grow part of our business here, and then also going through my kind of spiritual journey and awakening, and how to incorporate that into corporate events as well.
Yeah, that's very profound and intriguing. The spiritual aspect of navigating those changes in your own personal healing. What has been some of the best practices, I guess, if I would call it that, to keep
Right.
you grounded and like keep you aligned in mind, body, and spirit? Because it takes a lot of strength to heal from an experience like losing a significant other, in a sense, or having to, fill that gap in that space. I don't think we ever really, I don't want to say recover because I've lost loved ones. So I know that experience. I think we learn how to deal better than what we
Mhm.
did prior with time. What has really sustained you and helped you reconnect with yourself throughout that process of healing?
Yeah, I think for me, primarily has been meditation.
Yeah.
Through meditation, and prayer. Meditation is prayer. It's however you want to look at it. And for me, that's been really grounding. I have a meditation room here in my house. I also got into different oracle card readings. I thought they were kind of silly at first, to be honest with you. And then we used to have a third business partner, and during COVID, she was like, Ari, she was here in Hawaii and she was quarantined. And she's like, go to the crystal shop and buy a angel card deck. And I'm like, buy a what? And so I go, and I'm like, I thought they were really silly, but then I started noticing how powerful they were and how all the messages resonated with me. And so I think through meditation and through different card readings and through different decks that I'm called to, and it's developed over time, has really helped me, internally peacefully feel at peace, right? Because yes, grief, I've read this quote once that said, grief lasts as long as love lasts.
Right.
Right. And so it doesn't necessarily always just go away, right? And being okay with having pockets and moments of sadness. And that's okay too, to feel that and to, let it pass through. So if I can find a few minutes a day to meditate, pull a card, I travel with cards, that is what helps me. And then of course I do yoga and breath work, and I dabble. I like to try all kinds of different modalities, as well. But I think meditation is definitely is key. And it's been interesting about the cards because now I have executives. They send me messages on the side, and they'll say, oh, can you pull me a card? Or, and then they keep track of how many times I pulled in what card and when I pulled in the cards. And then I bring them to the events that we do. And so I've
Wow.
seen clients know. And so it's not something I do for pay or for anything. It's just more for just to create that connection. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I bring them to my events, and sometimes I'll pull an overall card for the staff, for the group, and then I'll do personal readings on the side, with some of these, and women, primarily women, but it's interesting to see some of the men, like, in the staff group kind of get into it.
I definitely think as women, we have a lot more influence
Mhm.
on the things that men find intriguing more than we think we do. I love your authenticity in just holding space for yourself to pivot and grow throughout your process, even not really knowing what direction you were going in.
Mhm.
I think a lot of ambitious people, creative people, could hold more space for gentleness towards themselves and just exploring a variety of things and like you said, a variety of modalities that could work. And we need to stay curious and open-minded I got into tarot and oracle cards and things within the last 3 years. And when I first got into it, it's something that I kind of kept to myself. I was born and got most of my early childhood developmental experiences in southeastern US
Okay.
along the Bible Belt. It's a very religious place, and people tend to not be as open minded to
Same.
spiritual things outside of religion. So I kept it to myself for a while, but I found so much fulfillment and affirmation and so many things that were just really aligned in the messages that spoke to me, and times when I absolutely needed those affirmations. So I think that's wonderful that you have incorporated that even into your professional relationships and people look forward to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I even bought an angel card deck for a client and I gave it to her on the side and she was like over the moon. And so now she sends me cards. Yeah, so she's, and it's great. But I understand with the religion thing too, because I'm Greek Orthodox.
Okay. Yeah.
And so also my mom thought it was always kind of strange and whatnot. But now the more she sees it or the more she comes around, she'll be like, can you pull me a card or show me how they work? I'm like, well,
Mhm.
they don't really work like the way you think they're going to work, but
Yeah, they're looking at it more
yeah,
like a divination
like
tool
a,
instead of
yes,
like this thing that it aligns with you. It meets you where you are. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's very, very cool. What has been one of the most exciting and rewarding moments since getting into wellness tourism?
I think for me, the best part is, well, the best part for me is seeing my clients when they receive their standing ovation. It's not so much about the wellness itself. It's about watching the attendees, one, leaving more energetic and energized than feeling exhausted after attending like, a 3-day conference. And then two, seeing my client get that standing ovation that like, they did a great job, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm all the behind the scenes. Like I'm not there. My job is to make, her or him or they look like a rock star at the end of the day. And so for me, that's the most exciting thing and rewarding thing is to see that, shine through for my client and then also for the attendees, right? I mean, how many times have you been to an event or a conference where you're just like, you have to go home and you like detox,
Yeah.
or or sleep or it's just yeah, so how can you do all those things and take your habits like while you're on the road and while you're at an event?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting and cool. What has been one of the biggest lessons that you've learned while engaging clients and being influential in the wellness aspect of people's lives?
I think that not everybody thinks like you think, like I think,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it's kind of like, I still get surprised that if like, nobody's done a yoga class, if they're like, it's your first time and they raise their hand, I look around, I'm like, really? You've never done? But then I have to like remember that no, not everybody's tried every modality. And just because I have doesn't mean that, they have to, or just because I like it means you like it. And so that's always something that I have to keep reminding myself when it comes to that. So,
Yeah, we definitely have to keep an open mind. I had a revelation this during the Easter holiday. I don't really celebrate traditional holidays, but I got invited to kind of like a girls' night of sorts. And we all challenged each other to vulnerably share kind of like our origin stories, how we found ourselves focusing on self care, how we discovered that we love to travel and do
mhm.
things like that. And hearing complete strangers' authentic stories, it was a very rich experience. And I had that aha moment that came full circle that was like, wow, people are so diverse and there's so much happening outside of my own personal experience.
Yes.
Yeah. What's one of your beyond Hawaii, because I know you love
Yes,
Hawaii.
yes,
The way you
yes.
light up when you speak about it. I've never been, but I definitely want
Well,
to
you're
go.
invited anytime. You'd
Thank you,
like to
because I
come.
will take you up on that invite.
Me
I am a
too.
traveler.
Absolutely. I'm Greek. We have philoxonia, like hospitality. I will take care of you.
The one common factor that keeps coming up, keeps coming up, keeps coming up is finding debt-free funding for the growth of our businesses so that we don't have to stress. So I'm a strategist. I'm a solutions person, and I love to see women in business winning. So I decided to compile a very organized and specific list of over $1 million in debt-free funding that specifically support women entrepreneurs. And I want to share that list with you. Not only am I going to make this debt-free funding list available to you, I'm putting together an event where I'm collaborating with grant writing experts who are going to walk you through step by step on the tips and tricks that they use to increase the likelihood that their clients get approved for this grant funding. But that's not it. I also am collaborating with artificial intelligence experts who partner and use AI to help them grant write more efficiently. It's so important that we share resources and that we tap into the resources that are available to us. But I want to cut out the guesswork, okay? I know what it feels like to have to grind the midnight oil, figure out where the funding is, send out the letters, connect with people, try to get sponsors, get denied after all of my hard work of spending weeks and weeks and weeks of writing letters and preparing applications and answering questions just to find out that I'm not going to be approved for the grant. And I don't want you all to experience that level of disappointment. So I've taken the guesswork out of it. I've partnered with the experts. We are going to actively grant write together. It's a 3-day challenge with an amazing lineup of experts who know what it takes to get approved for debt-free funding. I want you all to understand, as much as I would love to just give this away for free, I want you all to understand you will have to make a small investment in yourself so that I know that you are serious. Okay? It's going to take a small investment of your financial support into yourself, and it's going to take a small time investment of your time into yourself because we have to meet each other halfway. I'm bringing these brilliant experts together. We're all going to meet in one room and we are going to do a 3-day grant writing challenge together. Okay. But not only are we going to do that, we're going to start each day off with motivation. We're going to get our bodies energetic. Okay. We're going to share support. We're going to connect. We're going to network. There's going to be hundreds of like-minded women in this room. And you're also going to get access to the replays. So after the 3, I'm not just going to give you 3 days of grant writing and just then just leave you alone to your wits. No, we are going to hold each other's hand in community through this process. And you're going to be able to revisit this information. I'm going to send you the downloads, the replays, and I have a really special surprise. I don't want to give it all away right now.
Take care of you. So,
Yes, yes, you all do. I love the culture and the food, everything. The hugs, everything is warm, the family-oriented lifestyle. What's been one of your favorite destinations, or even if you want to share two or any, I just like to hear, especially
oh,
people who are very well traveled, like share with.
so, well, one, I'm biased because I'm Greek, so I spend a lot of time in Greece, and I
Yeah,
love going to the islands in the Kyklades where Naxos and Paros and Mykonos and Santorini are. So I love those whitewashed buildings and
yeah.
the dryness of it, and just the food and the people, everything. So, and my dad lives at an island in the North Aegean Sea called Elonisos, and so it's more. I feel like it's more Greek in the way of it's like stone houses, more of like the entire island. I almost feel like is its own village. And he has a restaurant there in the old village. And so I feel, yeah, I don't know. I feel like definitely Greece is one of my favorite places, even Greeks vacation in Greece. So
Yeah.
a little bit biased in that way, but I also really love Mexico. I spend a lot of time in Mexico. And personally, I used to go there 5 times a year out in the Riviera Maya area. And my mom would make fun. She'd be like, "Oh, yeah, it's on your way to Greece." Because I'd stop in, Playa del Carmen for 2 days and then go to Greece. And she'd be like, "Yeah, it's really like on your way." And I was like, "Well, kind of. And yeah, so yeah. And I don't know, the older I get and the more I tap into my wellness and spirituality, for me personally, vacations are more about that kind of, I don't know, more eco-friendly boutique adventure kind of hotel space, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, that fits that wellness retreat, I guess, vibe, I would
Yeah.
say, because for work, I'm in a lot of, more corporate style,
Yeah.
larger hotels, which are wonderful too at the end of the day. But where I choose to spend my time personally would be in the jungles of the Yucatan, as you're familiar with, personally. So that's where, and I also like Brazil. I'm attracted to like warm people, like South
Yeah.
America, Latin America,
Yeah.
Spain, places like that is where my heart goes.
The spice, the culture, the
Yes.
food, very family oriented. They're very
Yes.
close paced. They work, but they really lean into family work balance. I love that. I love the slow pace enjoyment of life and just how helpful and authentic the people are in all of those places that you named.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that resonates with me. And I had to learn to kind of peel back, growing up in the standard American culture, I had to learn an appreciation for things of more of a spiritual and, like you said, eco-friendly substance versus that materialism that we kind of Americans tend to lean toward. I have to admit, I was there at some point. It's a culture. And I found so much fulfillment in just slowing down, just
100%.
enjoying the bites of food, really listening to the music, being able to tune my ears spiritually to what messages and things present themselves to me. Yeah. Is there any advice that you would give to an ambitious woman who desires to navigate a new space like wellness tourism or being positive influence in educating professionals on wellness and how it can serve them in their professional career?
Well, I think solo traveling, if you haven't been anywhere by yourself, and to connect with yourself, because connecting with yourself, like we all talk about it, and it's like if you can be complete and feel happy and at peace within, and that exudes, outward when you're dealing with, your clients or your colleagues and in the workplace, right? So if you can take that time, even if it's a staycation somewhere, right? You don't necessarily have to go to the jungles or the rainforests of the Amazon, right? Which would be really cool if you could, right? But at least, taking that time to go out and be alone, or having dinner, go out to dinner by yourself, even, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Even as a female, go sit at the bar, bring a book, write a journal, or sit and have a drink and talk to people, at the end of the day. So there's no formula, right? And there's no right or wrong way. There is no good or bad, right? It's all perspective and how you want to, partake in that. But yeah, I definitely think spending time alone is totally key. Even if you're an extreme extrovert, where you're always around people and you need to, you get energized by being with people, you still need that time to recharge. Right. And then look for other activities, maybe locally too, right? That are in your neighborhood, wherever you live. There's always something, maybe there's a sound bath you could join, or a breathwork session. If you've never looked up forest bathing, I would recommend checking that out. It's a meditative walk through the forest. You literally walk half a mile in 3 hours. But like you get all these invitations to pay attention, to the world around you, to the nature that's around you. You can do it at the beach. You don't have to necessarily be in a green park. Yeah. So there's just a lot of things.
Yeah, what I heard and what stood out most to me in the examples that you gave is finding ways to stay present and finding ways to
Totally.
quiet our minds and really hear what creativity comes out of that quietness and how we can reconnect with ourselves, because I've sometimes felt confused or conflicted. And then when I take myself into a quiet space and I pour back into my own energy, it's like those creative ideas, they just pop out of nowhere. The solutions, they pop out of nowhere. And I'm like, this is so profound. But if I hadn't have slowed down and really listened to like my soul and connected with nature, I wouldn't miss those moments of reflection.
No, you're right. 2 years ago, I was in India and I attended a silent meditation retreat at an ashram out there. And the Guru Amma, she had mentioned, she said, all languages are great, but the greatest language of them all is God's language because it's silent. And that's when you can really sit and hear. And that's why you're asked to be quiet for the week, not talk because you're supposed to go inward, right? And listen, and I still remember that to this day. And that's when if I'm stressed or I'm busy or having a hard time, or even if I just need a few moments in the morning, being here sometimes in the morning, I have to jump straight on a call because I don't want to get up super early, right? So then I'll make sure I take that time for myself in between calls or even before meeting you.
Absolutely.
I sat and did a 15-minute meditation just to recenter, to wake up and be ready and be present to have this beautiful conversation together.
Well, thank you for putting so much thought and energy into holding space for Self-Care Your Way to Success podcast today and being mindful of it and showing up with your best energy. You are definitely refreshing to talk to and very interesting,
Oh,
intriguing.
thank
I'm sure you
you.
are full of stories and like
I have a
so
lot
many
of
experiences.
stories.
I wouldn't even know where to start. Like my mind is like, I just want to ask you so many questions, but there isn't enough time.
No, it's all good.
I've jotted down some notes too. I'm like, okay,
Oh
invitation.
yes,
I have to try some of this.
yes, just to let go of no fun, nothing, just to really be with yourself. Like that's the ultimate.
My love language and be able to love myself in my own love language and also pour into myself so that I have that fullness to pour into those that I care about and that I genuinely am passionate about seeing, experience
Mhm.
success and that they have that paradigm shift, that I've been able to experience.
Right.
Yeah. How can I stay connected with you? How can the audience stay connected with you? I, how can we connect with your partner's podcast and what he's doing and also stay abreast of the events that you have with Olympian Meeting?
Absolutely. Well, you could just follow us at Olympian Meeting. Our website is olympianmeeting.com. We're also on Instagram and LinkedIn as Olympian Meeting as well. And my email is just REARI at Olympian Meeting. So it's really simple to find us, to connect with me. And if you'd like to connect personally as well, I'm definitely open to that. Just send me an email there and we can connect. If you want to talk about wellness or travel or India or Greece, I can definitely support you, in all your travel needs.
I can tell that you genuinely enjoy connecting with people.
100%. And I do have to tell you that the Olympian Meeting, when the name came to me through meditation, but the happy accident was that it's OM for short. And so I couldn't have named it better than if I tried. So, which is great because my partner, business partner, David, is more on the fitness side. So he's the Olympian. And then I'm on more on the Zen
Yeah.
side of it. And so I'm the OM.
I love the mesh up of the physical and the spiritual.
So spiritual.
We,
Absolutely.
we have to feed both. Yeah.
We need it. And it's just not all about, intuitive stretch yoga and meditation. We definitely need to get our heart rate up and be active as well.
Absolutely. You've really inspired me and I'm very impressed. So I'll definitely stay connected with you and reach out.
Super
Wow.
grateful too. You are so lovely. And thank you for this opportunity and this conversation and connections.
So thank you again, Ari.
Absolutely.
You've
It's
been
really
like a breath of fresh
wonderful.
air.
And you were wonderful too. So I look forward to connecting with you again as well.